Hi, everybody. Welcome back to today's episode of the Children First Family Law Podcast. I am pleased to have Dr. Don Gordon here with us, who is coming to us today from Oregon. And he is going to share a lot of really valuable information for parents, co-parents about his life's work and some new resources that he has that can really help parents do this really hard work better and kids who can really have, I think, better outcomes. So welcome to the show today. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, happy to be here, Krista. I'm happy to be able to chat with you and about the areas that we have a lot of things in common.
Yes.
Have similar goals. So I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Absolutely. Well, so tell us a little about your background and what brought you into the work and what keeps you passionate about it.
Oh, it's interesting. Got my doctorate in clinical child psychology and also family psychology. So I'm a family psychologist, and I've had academic jobs and had private practice and things like that. But I've gotten interested in this divorce work because my work initially was working on delinquency treatment and prevention. And we noticed that most of the delinquents that we were treating and we're using family therapy didn't have fathers in the home and had almost no contact with their biological fathers. And so in order to prevent delinquency, I thought that if we can keep the fathers involved when the parents split up, then we can reduce delinquency. And that got me into co-parent education and about how do we motivate both parents to stay involved and work with each other, and the kids benefit if they do that. So that got me into it, and I went through a high conflict divorce myself. And my colleague at the time, Jack Arbuthnot, he had a really easy divorce, and they agreed to joint custody right off the bat, which back then was unusual. So we decided we want to teach parents to have the kind of divorce he had and not the kind of divorce that I had. So we came at it from different perspectives, and we
So,
focused on
yeah.
yeah.
So what do you think? I mean, since you shared that little glimpse about your own life, I always find that really interesting because we can talk very philosophically about what a lot of these psychologists and professionals have to say to parents. But I love that you share that right off the jump that, you've been through it. So what would you, as an initial matter, share from having gone through a high conflict divorce yourself? Like, why do you think it was so bad?
Um, well, I wanted to have joint custody because based on the research, I thought that was the best for kids, that we both stay very involved and basically split the time almost equally between us. And my ex-wife didn't; she wanted control and sole custody, and so we couldn't agree. We had to go to court, and I asked the judge to impose joint custody, and he wouldn't because he didn't believe in it.
So
Yeah.
what are some of the most common emotional and maybe behavioral challenges that children experience during divorce?
Um, Fear, not knowing what's going to happen with all these changes. Mom or dad has moved out, or they're fighting, and then the one parent's about to move out. So fear that they're going to lose their friends, they're going to go to the same school or not. Another one is deep sadness that a parent they're used to seeing every day is not going to be there. Um, so they worry, so they worry a lot. Um, And then sometimes they'll get angry, especially as they get older, like teenagers will get angry. Why are you doing this to me? My life was okay, and now you're throwing it up in the air. They're angry about that. Um, but worry and fear and sadness are the most common, particularly with young children who they haven't developed good coping mechanisms for dealing with stress.
It's not divorce that hurts them so much as it is this loyalty binds and loyalty
Right.
challenges, and they have to hide the love, exactly what you said. So how
Yes.
did you start then pivoting into doing this for kids? So into having these classes, or tell me what it looks like with what the program is in terms of children in between for kids.
Um, well, we basically, since it's a class for kids, we wanted to have, we have like, I think five or six chapters in the program, and each chapter is hosted by a different child. So it's a child, basically a teenager, is talking to kids about what they're going through. And to make it more interesting for kids, we have an animated character called Orby. And Orby is this, we had a Disney animator create this for us. It's this expressive orb, this blue orb that's very expressive. It's very wise, and a very wise, basically, mentor for the children. And Orby and the child hosting the chapter are teaching these skills to the kids about emotional expression and about reducing their different ways they can reduce their stress. So that makes it more interesting to kids that they'll stick with it, because the kids are not mandated, unlike the parents, they're not mandated to take this class. So you have to hold their interest. It has to be personally relevant to them. It has to be emotionally impactful. And that helps the kids pay attention and stick with it. So we use these child actors to do it, and it was filmed during COVID. So all the filming had to be done remotely. They had to tell the parents and go into a home how to work the equipment and stuff like that. So, and we won a W3 award for the quality of a video filmed during COVID.
So
So
how many kids have been doing it? You were mentioning as we were prepping that, a lot of parents aren't signing their kids up for it. So you do tell them all about it now in the parenting class. Like,
yes,
hey, we have this kids class.
yeah,
And so then what
and
happens? They're like, whatever. They just don't do it. They don't feel motivated to do it.
yeah,
What happens?
yes, and I think because they're in the middle of this divorce process. Again, these are people who are in they're court mandated to take children between, so they're in the process, and they're only doing what they have to do because their lives are so chaotic. They don't have a lot of free time, and so they don't want to do anything that's not necessary. So I'm guessing they don't see this kid's class as necessary. Maybe they think to themselves, well, maybe later on I'll get this, but right now I can't deal with it. Um, so parents are just too frenzied. But the feedback we've gotten from several dozen parents who've used the program and reported on it, it has been really positive. They said the kids are learning and using these strategies. The kids are expressing their feelings more, and they're having good conversations with the kids. So the things that we were hoping to happen are happening, according to Parent Report. We still want to do a controlled study, and Dr. Marsha Klein Pruitt is ready to
Oh,
help with that
okay.
and to analyze the data and to publish it, if we get it. But we probably need a court to mandate it so that we have enough parents and kids to use the program. And in Cincinnati, they were going to mandate it, but the presiding judge who was retiring always wanted a kids program. But there's a few judges in the court who didn't agree, and since it wasn't unanimous, they decided not to mandate it.
Hmm.
So we're still hoping that we can get a controlled study, because as a former academic, I tend to believe stuff that's shown by science to be effective, and it's not a placebo effect.
And how do you think I mean, obviously you'd love it if judges started ordering it, right? Because when that
Yes.
would happen, even, and I will say the court system doesn't have to agree that it's a universal program. Individual judges oftentimes, at least in Colorado and in other jurisdictions, with which I'm familiar, individual judges can say, "I want you to go do this one thing." Like they order
Mhm.
that all the time. So that would be a good way. I know we have judges listening to the program, and that would be a good way to start just to test it out. And then maybe it can become something that happens within that courthouse that all the judges are trying it or multiple judges are trying it. Certainly it's worth it. It's a pretty low barrier to entry because a lot of these other
Yeah.
programs are way more expensive than what this is.
Right.
So that's something to think about. And how would you like to see maybe attorneys using it? I gave you some ideas of how I thought it could be used. Are there other ways attorneys are using it well?
Um, I don't have good information on that, how they're using it well. I think that they have the way you're using it, they say, here's a program that's going to help you and your children deal with this stressful situation better. Go ahead and use this. It's only an hour and a half.
Mhm.
I would even say, can you think of some time in the next week where you could sit down with your child and use the program, where you encourage them to pick a date and a time that they'll do it. They're more likely to do it than if it's just a general
Mhm.
do this when you have time. So I think encouraging to
Yeah,
do that.
that's
If
great.
if the attorney has looked at the program, then they can say, I'd like you to take a look at the program. And then when you come in next week, let's talk about it. That makes it much more likely the parent will do it, because it's sort of like the attorney's checking up on whether or not they did their homework.